Hello, and welcome back to the Encompass Space. Today we have the pleasure of hearing Sheila Weaver's story that was an outcome of a project that we were doing, and one that I feel is something that could be shared with others of all ages. So please help me welcome Sheila Weaver. Hello, Sheila. Over to you.
A voice. The first thing I noticed was its tail. Broad and flat, with long, silky fur, this luxuriant tail did not belong to the familiar Douglas squirrel. The body was hunched and seemed very wide. The animal lay just 6 meters from my kitchen window, on the back lawn beneath the arbutus tree that leans out from the rim of the wooded ravine. This was the first flying squirrel I had ever seen, and it was dead. I felt sick. Within about 3 weeks, on a small suburban lawn, I had found the bodies of a shrew and 4 deer mice, and the feathers or remains of 2 songbirds. Except for the birds, none had been eaten. Now, one of the neighborhood cats had been hunting again. Unlike the native Douglas squirrel of the coastal forest, the larger eastern gray squirrel that has usurped its place in Vancouver's parks and suburbs, and the red squirrel found throughout most of Canada, flying squirrel sleeps by day and becomes active after dusk. Little acquainted with the night, especially night in the forest, I had wondered from time to time whether flying squirrels lived in my part of the country. Now I had proof, provided by this beautiful animal that would never again glide from tree to tree in the forest that began just steps from my door. As I returned to the front yard to complete the task I'd been working on, I cared not a whit whether any of the neighbors heard me crying. An urge arose that I had never felt before. I wanted to save the pelt, to help me remember this wild, gentle creature whose life had been so needlessly snuffed out. Or at least its magnificent tail. I phoned an acquaintance who knows a lot about animals. Yes, he had skinned animals in the past, he said. He did not offer to skin my squirrel. I called a taxidermist. He explained that it would be difficult depending on the injuries, and because of the furred membrane that extends between the flying squirrel's front and hind legs. This membrane, spreading like a parachute when the animal launches itself into the air from high on a tree trunk, is what enables the squirrel to fly. I phoned a friend. She too had skinned animals, but she could not bring herself to skin a coyote she'd kept as a pet years before, when the animal died. She too would not skin my squirrel, and all told me I would need a permit. Bureaucracy did not belong in this experience. I thought about what a late friend and wise teacher had said to me. When something he wanted to accomplish proved to be an obstacle course, he would conclude that it was not the way to go and seek another path. Attempts to achieve my goal were turning out to be an obstacle course. And talking with the friend who could not skin her deceased pet got me thinking more carefully about the squirrel. Did I really want to treat it this way? What does it matter, a voice from somewhere countered. If you bury it or lay it in the woods, it will rot or get scavenged. There's nothing delicate about that. Meantime, the squirrel lay in a sealed plastic bag in the freezer while I sorted out what to do. This was not exactly part of the natural cycle. But why was this unfortunate animal left on the lawn, where I could not help but find her? If it's true, as some maintain, that there are no accidents, could it be that the flying squirrel spirit wanted to get my attention? Harmless little animals that dwell in the forest. Why do they matter? I had to learn more. The northern flying squirrel's range encompasses most of Canada, yet few of us ever see one. Since flying squirrels come out only at night, the occasional individual that ventures out of the forest, perhaps even visiting a bird feeder, does so unknown to us. And flying squirrels, though not silent, are not bold and talkative like the diurnal tree squirrels. In addition, they're particular about the forest in which they dwell. Reportedly capable of gliding for a distance of 45 meters or more, they require tall trees, not crowded, yet not too far apart, to glide among. Trees old enough to support the fungi and lichens that make up a major part of their diet. Trees that offer natural cavities or woodpecker holes where females can build their nests and raise their young, and in which these social animals that remain active year-round can snuggle together for warmth on cold winter days. These qualities are found in abundance only in mature and old-growth forest, a habitat rapidly disappearing and increasingly fragmented, resulting in less interior space and more edges. Such transition zones, places where forest meets meadow, brush, or lake, offer a variety of food and habitat, and so are particularly rich in wildlife. This includes expert hunters, such as owls, hawks, coyotes, and raccoons, who will all venture a short distance into the forest seeking prey. A bigger threat to flying squirrels, however, occurs where human settlement abuts the wild. Here domestic cats, abroad by day or night, become their major predators. Flying squirrels relish truffles, the fruiting bodies of certain species of fungi that grow entirely underground. Forming a symbiotic relationship with plant and tree rootlets, these mycorrhizal or fungus root fungi greatly increase the tree's ability to absorb nutrients and water from the soil, thus enhancing their vigor and resistance to disease. In turn, the plants supply the fungi with nutrients obtained through photosynthesis, without which the fungi cannot live. Like mushrooms, mycorrhizal fungi reproduce by means of spores. But unlike mushrooms, their fruits never emerge above the surface of the soil. So how do the fungi get the spores to where they need to go? Here's where the flying squirrel comes in. When the truffles are ripe, they emit a pungent odor that tells flying squirrels, chipmunks, voles, deer mice, and other small mammals, dinner is served. The little animals run constantly over stumps and logs and a short distance into adjacent burns and cut over areas. They leave little deposits wherever they go, and these deposits include truffle spores. Rain washes the spores into the soil and the wood, soft wood, where they inoculate the roots of young plants and trees. With no plans for preservation, and out of respect for the squirrel, I couldn't continue to keep her in the freezer. Yes, this was a nursing female. How many babies did she leave to die a slow death from starvation? The squirrel was dead. I could do nothing about that. But to the spirit of this little animal, dwelling among us largely invisible and unknown, perhaps I had one gift to offer: a voice. Several large sword ferns cover the steep upper slope of the ravine. A few meters from where I had found the lifeless body, I placed it gently beneath the arching fronds. I offered a prayer to the flying squirrel spirit and said a sorrowful farewell.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. How wonderful to be aware of that lovely creature and all the circle of life and ecosystem that supports us all.
Yes, indeed.
So your message was heard, and your story about your experience, very memorable. Thank you.
Thank you.